This is 5 on 20 News with Ty Besh coming to you live from our studio in downtown Tucson. It is Wednesday, August 16th. Let's talk local headlines. Arizona has become one of the first states to embrace blockchain. Blockchain technology to accept electronic signatures on contracts. The technology was created in 2009 and offers a decentralized peer-to-peer review network that can be used for online data verifications and transfer. The blockchain is most commonly associated to Bitcoin, the alternative digital currency that's responsible for the creation of blockchain. It serves as a sort of public ledger for the currency, but was later found to have additional uses. State Representative Jeff Winninger passed a law in March that made Arizona one of the first states to accept blockchain technology for contracts. He said that it was difficult explaining the concept of the technology, but that he had made it his mission because he didn't want legislators to vote on something that they didn't understand. Yeah. Lawmakers in Arizona have called the technology bulletproof, saying that adds a level of trust in the management of records and identity. Blockchain technology works by recording transactions in blocks of data that build chronologically off of each other. The information is decentralized and held on numerous computers, making it virtually impossible to hack. If one of the computers were hacked, the others on the network would know that something is off. Winninger thinks that this is a more acceptable. Thinks with more acceptance of blockchain, the technology can be used to create more secure voting, money handling, and identification, and more. When the governor signed the Winninger bill in March, he said that that shows Arizona is a state that's leading in ways in embracing new technologies. However, it was clear that Ducey had no idea what blockchain, as he described as a sort of ball and chain, except with a block. A U.S. district judge ordered the state of Arizona to pay more than $600,000 to Planned Parenthood of Arizona for attorney fees and other costs the organization incurred fighting the now repealed law. The law in question is one signed on to the law by Governor Doug Ducey in 2015 that requires abortion providers to tell patients the effects of an abortion-inducing drugs were reversible. Abortion providers fought the law because they said that these claims were not backed by science and that it made doctors give patients medically wrong information. The law was later rescinded this year, which led to the ruling that Planned Parenthood should be refunded for these legal costs, but abortion opponents say that women should be informed about new medical procedures, even if they're fake. Abortion opponents will next look to endorse spirit birthing, which allows doctors to summon the power of Christ to reassure a child from the womb. Aww. Prescott, Arizona is ranked as Arizona's best destination for nature lovers, according to Expedia. The site states that Prescott is surrounded by 1.25 million acres of national forest and especially good for mountain bikers. They said that Prescott also boasts 16 parks and 3 lakes, which you can kayak and canoe. Prescott City Manager Michael Lamar says that he sees why the town got such an honor in a press release. He said that in the short time we have lived here, my family and I have enjoyed many of Prescott's trails and parks. Sure, rub it in, buddy, but can Prescott claim to host a venue where Lenny Mental poked on a group of adoring fans? There are currently 3 white supremacist hate groups operating in Tucson. According to the report of the Southern Poverty Law Center, the organization maintains an interactive map that highlights the 917 organizations that they have classified as hate groups in the U.S. The first group mentioned in the report is the Free America, which is headquartered in Tucson, labeled as White National Organization according to the SPLC. The group espouses white separatist ideologies focused on alleged inferiority of non-whites. The second group is the National Socialist Movement, which the SPLC describes as a neo-Nazi organization. The national group has an Arizona chapter based in Tucson, but only 18 members in its Yahoo group, which is not open to the public. NSM Arizona states that they are a white civil rights advocacy group and political party. While they claim that they're not a hate group, the site says that their core belief includes defending the rights of white people, preserving their culture and heritage, and strengthening family values. The group has a bit of a left-wing ideology in that they oppose foreign wars, want economic self-sufficiency. The final group on the list is ACT for America, which is labeled as an anti-Muslim group. The SPLC claims that the group has sought to develop closer relationships with elected officials, both in state and the local level. They say that the group has shifted their focus towards Syrian refugee crisis, forming small anti-refugee groups that popped up across the country. According to the ACT for America website, the organization is the NRA of national security. They claim that they're the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan, grassroots national security organization with 750,000 members and more than 12,000 volunteer activists. If you're saying to yourself, that number sounds high, it's because the ACT for America members haven't learned to count yet. But allegedly they had put that on next year's agenda. Now national and international news. Even in terms of Trump's press conferences, yesterday's was a doozy. The president spoke from Trump's tower in New York City on Tuesday and took questions from reporters on an impromptu press conference that was supposed to be about infrastructure. We didn't hear much about that. Instead, reporters questioned Trump about his reaction to the weekend violence in Charlottesville. Trump equated white supremacist protesters who chanted through the streets, chanting slogans like, "Jews will not replace us," with counter-protesters who didn't say those things. Trump began answering a question about protests by saying, you had a group on one side, you had a group on the other. Okay, not bad so far, but as he often does, Trump continued to talk. He continued by saying, but there's another side, there's a group on this side, you can call them the left, that came violently attacking the other group. Then he criticized the counter-protesters by stating that they didn't have a permit to demonstrate, while the Unite the Right demonstrators did have a permit. Sure, they wanted to get rid of the human race of anybody who's not white, but at least they got permits. Trump later asked if he had called the family of Heather Heyer, who had been killed in the protest when she was hit by the car driven by a far-right protester. The president said that he hadn't yet, but he would soon. But first he had to finish a scathing tweet about Under Armour. Lawmakers on both sides criticized the president's statement, but he did find at least one supporter. Former KKK Wizard David Duke thanked the president in a tweet, saying that Trump had the courage to tell the truth. Courage to tell the truth about Charlottesville and condemned the leftist terrorists in Black Lives Matter and Antifa, which means anti-fascist. Well, if this whole president thing doesn't work out, maybe Trump can become a wizard. Consumers would pay more than 20% more for some of the country's most popular health insurance plans if the president follows through with a threat to cut subsidies to insurers. According to the report by the Congressional Budget Office, the CBO projection released yesterday also estimates that terminating the subsidies would increase the federal deficit by $194 billion by 2026. Currently, these subsidies are provided to the insurance companies that would supply low-income Americans with health insurance. For months, Trump has flirted with the idea of stopping the subsidies, which he called bailouts for the insurance industry. But he revealed his real agenda in a tweet that month when he wrote, "Let Obamacare implode, then deal." Trump has been trying to pass a Republican alternative to Obamacare of the Affordable Care Act, as it's really called. However, the bill stalled in the Senate when it was voted down by 3 Republicans and opposed by all the Democrats. Trump's saltiness over the bill's failure has caused him to dangle the threat of taking away these subsidies, which would in the end, collapse Affordable Care Act. The CBO report also says that insurance companies are expected to withdraw from the insurance market because of uncertainty about the effects of policy on the average healthcare costs. Because the insurance companies don't know exactly what Trump will do, the CBO says that they will likely just walk away from the whole thing and chalk it up as a loss. Perhaps Trump will do the same. North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper is calling for the state to remove Confederate statues from public property after the racially motivated violence over the weekend in Charlottesville, Virginia. In a blog post on the website Medium, Cooper urged the state's legislation to repeal a law that forbids the removal or relocation of Confederate monuments. He says the landmarks glorified the Confederacy's defense of slavery. Cooper also says he asked North Dakota National Resources legislator reject a bill that would grant immunity to unintentionally hit protesters in the street. The weekend violence prompted this call as one counter-protester, Heather Heyer, was killed after she was hit by a far-right protester. While the situation certainly was not unintentional, critics of the law said it's nearly impossible to determine if somebody hit a protester unintentionally.
They ask you how you are. You
In a
just have to
press
say that
conference yesterday, the president criticized the call to remove Confederate statues, comparing it to the removal of statues bearing the likeness of Thomas Jefferson and George Washington, because nothing quite drives the point home in America like insulting the founding fathers. In the morning tweet, Donald Trump announced that he was ending both the Manufacturing Council and his Strategy and Policy Forum. Another member of the Trump's administration Manufacturing Council jumped ship earlier today, making it 7 members, lucky 7, who have so far quit the council. This time it was a 3M chief executive who announced that he would resign this morning. Yesterday it was AFL CIO, President Richard, who said that President Trump remarked today repudiated his forced remarks yesterday about the KKK and neo-Nazis. He was referring to the press conference yesterday where Trump blamed both sides for racial violence that took over Charlottesville, Virginia. CEO Kenneth Fraser was the first to leave the council on Monday following Trump's initial statements on the matter. Trump later tweeted about Fraser, writing that he has now time to lower his rip-off prices. Later in the day, Trump said that he had easy replacements for any other members who wanted to leave. Well, he better get those replacements ready because Intel CEO Brian has also quit the council on Monday, along with the Under Armour CEO Kevin Plank. Then on Tuesday, the president of the Alliance for American Manufacturing resigned from the council, stating that was the right thing to do. And the 5th member, that would be Tesla CEO Elon Musk, who didn't even make it to the Trump's racist remarks, as he left earlier this year after Trump's administration decided to withdraw from the Paris Agreement. Walmart CEO Doug McMillon also delivered a harsh statement on Trump's speech yesterday, but said that the company would remain in the council. Stephan, CEO of Blackstone Group, CEO, one of the president's closest business associates, said that he would hold a call with the remaining members to see how they could salvage the council. Dell CEO Michael Dell also said his company will remain on the board. As for replacements, the Trump administration plans to fill the empty seats with the 2 guys from ZZ Top, Kid Rock, and the Sonic Guys, who he says are tremendously hilarious and very, very smart. But not all that news yesterday dealt with racism, because we also have to deal with environmental destruction to worry about. As a group of environment organizations are suing the EPA over rules published in July that determined which of the chemicals that the agency will study before allowing chemicals to be sold on the open market. A chemical safety law passed last year that required the EPA to update procedures related to the risk evaluation of toxic chemicals. In the lawsuit, the group claimed that the EPA watered down the rules and weakened chemical review process compared to the original Obama administration rules. One of the rules cited that the lawsuit set criteria to determine the highest priority chemicals for the EPA to study. Another rule established which chemicals uses that the EPA will consider health and safety risks during the review process. The groups, which include Earth Justice, who filed a lawsuit, provides a law hole for chemical manufacturers. On the same day, the Sierra Club sued Energy Department for withholding a study on the reliability of the energy grid. In that lawsuit, the Sierra Club that claims that the agency did not respond to requests seeking information about decision-making and outside communication over the study. The study seeks to examine whether the growth of renewable power is putting the country's electricity system at risk.
Oh, yes.
Green groups oppose the study, saying it's designed to boost the Trump administration's support for fossil fuels such as oil, coal, and natural gas over renewable sources like solar and wind. A draft of the report was leaked in July and found that decreased demand for energy and low gas prices are to blame for the retirement of traditional power plants.
Oh, yes.
Not the rise of renewable energy. However, the study was never released to the public, leading to green groups believe that the conclusions would have been doctored more favorably to the stance of Trump administration. Sure, today's news is a huge downer, but it's helpful to remember that we still have Betty White and puppies, and Betty White with puppies. And of course, we still have that sweet sound of crying children. This was 5 on 20 News with me. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube and Facebook accounts for all the Creative Tucson content. Feel free to bother us at info@creativetucson.org. Thanks for hanging out with us, and stay creative, Tucson.